With celebrations for the nation's 250th anniversary well underway, the mood of the country and its citizens can best be summed up as complicated.
The PBS poll found 83% of US adults feel America has strayed from the ideals the country was founded on 2.5 centuries ago. Over the last 50 years, Americans' views of whether the country is living up to its nascent promise has flagged. In 1976, ahead of the nation's bicentennial, American views about the nation's founding principles in the wake of the Vietnam War and President Richard Nixon and the Watergate scandal, 30% of adults believed America had moved far away from its founding principles. Today, that's jumped to 47%. The survey found there are deeper concerns among Americans about some of the nation's highest ideals, namely the declaration that all men are created equal, the belief in the pursuit of happiness, and the belief in some form of democracy. There are lots of people that are really questioning in this moment whether those things are true anymore. The poll also found that 82% of Americans believe the future of democracy faces a serious threat, up from 78% at the start of the year. More and more Americans believe they may have to resort to violence to get the country back on track. Violence is very much a part of the American story. America's founding is a story of violent rebellion against an established government. It's baked into the American DNA in lots of ways. This poll is the latest survey that confirms America's unipolar moment. In 1991 is well and truly over, and it's America who now faces its end of history moment. This week, the EU Court of Justice ruled that criminal prosecution of individuals in EU countries who post Russia Today videos on open channels and websites can take place. The EU ruling was in a lawsuit against 3 German citizens for reposting RT videos on open platforms. In Germany, 3 individuals are facing criminal proceedings for having broadcast on several occasions videos from the channel RT on a website accessible to the public free of charge. Across the European Union, operators are not permitted to broadcast the content of that channel because of the restrictive measures adopted after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The court ruled that the EU sanctions ban on RT broadcasts applies also to a website accessible to the public free of charge. The court ruled that it is irrelevant whether or not the broadcasting of the prohibited content takes place in the course of an economic activity, and that the prohibition depends neither on the extent nor on the duration of the broadcasting. When it comes to Russian content, freedom of expression has been completely trampled over. The draconian measure confirms that the propaganda war is as much part of the war effort as the battlefield that has been raging for over 4 years. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent delivered a major speech recently, which neither Wall Street nor most of the economic profession paid much attention to. Bessent put down a marker for how the United States plans to operate in a changing global economic system. In the process, he elevated both the scale and the scope of a systemic change that started in earnest during President Trump's first term, was sustained by President Joe Biden, and is accelerating today. What Bessent has now confirmed as official US policy is the opposite to what the US has long been articulating for the past 7 decades. Where the US for long argued for open markets, free markets, competition, and the free flow of money, it's now calling for the complete opposite, as it no longer serves American interests. It was such economic nationalism that led to the events that culminated in World War I.